I ultimately closed my private practice and went into physical fitness and training and saw people making changes faster in their life in 4 or 5 personal training sessions than 10 years sitting on my couch.
My name is Blake Furman. I'm the founder of Veterans Navigation Network. We help veterans with resource navigation, peer mentorship, and advocacy throughout the state of Montana. Today, I get the opportunity to talk to a pair of individuals who run an amazing organization, Adaptive Performance Center, and they're going to get to tell us about what they do for the veteran community, why they do it, and I'm sure a lot more than that. So with no further ado, I introduce you to Mitch and Karen.
Thank you, Blake, for having us today. I appreciate it.
It's great to be here, Blake. Looking forward to this.
You guys have an incredible impact on the veteran community, and I'm just glad that we get to share that with our viewers. So I think for me and for the viewers, can you just talk about explain a little bit about what Adaptive Performance Center is, but then what inspired that idea? Where did it come from?
Well, as just a short version, the Adaptive Performance Center is a gym for veterans and active military. Started back in 1917, 2017. Wow.
We're old, but
As a thought, both Karen and myself were trainers at another gym, and we had worked with vets and stuff like that, and things weren't working well with them. So we were talking, what can we do to make it better for them? And basically we came up with, let's get 4 friends, get a board, and start a gym for just veterans and active military. Yeah. So it's only theirs. And that's what APC is. I mean, it's got rubber weights, it's got padded floors, so there's not a lot of clanking for vets. That's a big thing as you know. And it's a fitness center, but it's also a place where they can come, have coffee, talk with one another, shoot the proverbially bull stuff, and just bond with each other again. Yeah. Something that they miss.
Yeah, that community and camaraderie.
Yes, it's big.
We've done a lot of these interviews, and we've talked to a lot of veterans through our own program at Veterans Navigation Network, and time again, purpose and camaraderie are the 2 things that a lot of people miss when they separate. So right. Definitely that community and camaraderie can be found at APC. And you talked about working in the other gyms, seeing veterans struggle with maybe the lack of community or maybe the loud noises or things like that. But that's one thing, seeing that struggle. What really motivated you? I mean, do you have ties to the military? What motivated you to take that on?
So it was a combination of 2 experiences. One, for me, I was a Navy wife for 22 years. And right after 9/11, my husband was mobilized, and he was gone for 7 months. We had a 2-year-old child at the time, and when he came back, things were definitely different. And I had no knowledge of any resources that existed. I knew little to nothing about the VA, and I noticed him get to the point where he was withdrawn and very angry. He retired from the military and his civilian job and would just stay at home. And so raising this child and watching him just deteriorate and not really know what to do, looking at the fact that APC really addresses, our vision and mission is returning that dignity and purpose back to a veteran so that they realize there's more to life and not feeling that need to have to end their life. And in the position that I was in, there was a critical moment one day when my husband was very angry and said that if it wasn't for our son, he would kill me and then himself. And that's a lot to unpack and a lot to look at. And so the ultimate decision that I had to make was to leave that situation, to protect myself and protect my son, but it took 2 years to get there. All the while, I'm a therapist in private practice who doesn't know what to do with this, but I also watched for 12 years the suicide rate climb higher and higher and higher in our country, and the only thing that I ever saw happening was money being thrown at studies of veteran suicide and nothing for programming. And so I ultimately closed my private practice and went into physical fitness and training and saw people making changes faster in their life in 4 or 5 personal training sessions than 10 years sitting on my couch. And so at that point, it's like, oh man, this is the thing that can make a huge difference. Mitch has an incredible story about his connection to suicide and veteran suicide, and the two really made an incredible package for we can make a difference.
Yeah, it started back when I was in a bad car accident and ended up with a bad brain trauma. And I was dizzy, vertigo, headaches like crazy. And I really, after about a year, because I hadn't been seen, well, I'd been seen, but they couldn't diagnose me. So I'm laying on the floor just saying, I don't want to be here anymore. And just out of the blue, a friend of mine, who owns a business here in town, calls me up and says, hey, come on, let's go to the gym. So I, against my better judgment, got myself up and went to the gym, and we started working out, and a week or so later, I'm feeling pretty good. And just realizing that this is helping. Yeah. And so I guess going to APC and everything, I can understand a little bit about what that vet was thinking and going through. But he came in here and he's seeing us now. Yeah. So I want to make that the best possible situation that I can.
Right. Yeah, and I think, you spoke to it a little bit of the limits, I guess, of who you allow go into the gym. And so you have the military members, you have the veterans. Why don't you open it up to maybe the other family members and things like that?
So that's always been a difficult decision. And spouses can come and take classes, but they can't be members of the gym. We wanted to really kind of hone in on that environment of military only, because we see 2 different scenarios. In particular, when it comes to a spouse, the scenarios that we see are the spouse who's so protective of the veteran that they don't leave their side. And so that's not encouraging that veteran to break out and have communication with other people. Then we have the flip side of it, where you have a really unhealthy relationship and they're always wanting to be at that person's side because they don't trust them. We were shooting a Facebook Live one day, and we had a member in the back working out. And in the Facebook Live, he was about this big. And our female occupational therapist came out and asked him a question and then walked in the back. Before we were finished with the Facebook Live, he had gotten a message that said, I know you went to the gym for other girls. And so we don't want to foster that. We don't want to have those things happen. And most veterans, if you start having wives and other family members come in, they're going to lose that feeling that I can say anything I want, I can make any joke I want, I can do whatever. And it just kind of puts a notch or in the community focus of it. And that's why we've really never gone past that. Like I said, we let them come to the classes, and they can do the classes with their veteran or on their own, but the gym is for them.
Yeah, that's really awesome. I think it's a model that a lot of people could take note of and potentially use for their own programs when when situations like that occur, because unfortunately, high divorce rate, high
Yep.
relationship
Yes.
issues, high financial issues in the veteran community, and so just having a program just for the vet to maybe escape some of that.
Exactly.
Yes.
And do it in a healthy way. It's not
Right.
escape through
It's not
going
doing-
and gambling or going and drinking
Right.
or
Yeah.
something like that. It's a productive escape.
And they can come in and have that moment, and then when they go home, you get a happier person that comes home. You really do.
Or he's too exhausted.
Yeah, too exhausted to be a pain in the butt like most veterans are. Yeah. So, and I say that as a veteran right now. I don't want anybody thinking I'm hating on the military. Just my fellow service members. So you kind of have alluded to some of these classes, and I know you guys do more than just the gym, more than just the community. So can you talk a little bit more about the other programs or the other offerings of Adaptive Performance Center?
The first 2.5 years we were open, there were just 4 of us that were really running the gym. And in that time, we got to see where there were a lot of holes in programming and services and things that veterans were needing, and they didn't know how to access or were struggling to do it. And it was like, okay, if we had the opportunity to have these different positions, these are some things that we could do. So we ultimately added a peer mentor, and the peer mentor, very, very different than the peer support specialists that you guys have. Peer mentor at APC is more going in the community and making sure that veterans know that we exist and finding them in places, putting together activities to do at APC for veterans who aren't ready to go out and people yet, and then making activities outside of APC for those who are ready to go and people. And so that's kind of the role of the peer mentor. We added occupational therapy. We have a lot of older veterans, and they want to be able to stay in their homes longer. And with occupational therapy, they can do that functional fitness. The occupational therapist can go to their house and make sure they have the things that they need to be able to stay in their home longer. And they can work with them and work with them with fine motor skills and cognitive and executive functioning and a lot of different things that help them stay vital longer.
You're saying, and she's saying older vets. We have a 97-year-old World War II vet comes 6 days a week and works out like a madman. But he works with the OT also, and she helps him, or he helps him, with stuff that he can do at home and keep him moving and going.
I think the most important position that we added was a veteran liaison. And that's Andrea, and she is the unicorn of all unicorns. There isn't anything that she doesn't do. But when you look at the risk factors that lead to suicide, those are the things that she is motivated to help mitigate those risks. If there's issues with housing, she has relationships in the community that she can help them with. If they have trouble with food insufficiency, care at the VA, community care, if they're struggling with a bill, she has developed relationships and resources where she can do those warm handoffs or help them with paperwork or any of those. We have a wonderful veteran with 2 cochlear implants. He cannot communicate while on the phone. She sits with him while he does phone calls to make his medical appointments
VA stuff,
and interprets. And so, I mean, it's just those kinds of things, being able to add those really took it to the next level where it's much more of a community center with a cute little gym attached to it.
Yeah.
But we still use the gym, and we get amazing results. We've had vets that have lost 60, 100 pounds working out, and they didn't think they could do it.
Yeah.
Other things, we've had double amputees, single amputees, and they're doing things that they didn't think they could do.
You both have alluded, and we talked a little bit before we started the camera, but you alluded to some of the success stories. Are there maybe one success story from each of you that just really stands out in your mind of a veteran that maybe felt hopeless or just came to you broken, or maybe just feeling broken, whether they were or not, and you've seen that turn around?
Yeah. Mine was probably, he was a double amputee, had lost his legs a while back, and he was in a wheelchair. And he came in and said, I want to work out, I want to get stronger because the VA is going to get me legs. And so we worked out. Finally, the day came where he was going to go get his legs. He had told his wife, he said, I don't want to walk at the VA. I want to walk at APC. And he came in with them, put them on, and for the first time, he walked for a long time the first time, but he walked with his legs, and it was amazing. I mean, there was not a dry eye in the gym. Air Force vet came over to him, stood up and slapped him a salute, and just, it was just, it was so powerful. Yeah. And just to have this guy walk, who hadn't walked in a few years, and it was amazing.
That is, yeah.
How
about for you, Karen?
There's so many.
Top secret.
Yeah. I think I'm about, no. We had an older veteran, and I mean, he'd struggled a long time. He'd had a lot of health issues. He repeatedly would talk about the suicidal thoughts. And we had he didn't think he was eligible for VA benefits, so he'd never applied. So Andrea had gotten the application, started the process for him. Well, they were living in an RV. They're in their 70s. And they're living in an RV, and we had a rough winter 2 winters ago. But we got a phone call one morning. He had made an attempt the night before. And so we all were up at the hospital, and Andrea was working with his wife. Mitch and I went in and talked to him. And so we're kind of trying to work through all of this, but in his mind, he thought, she would be better off without me. This is not a life she deserves. This is not a life for her. And so the process continued, and what ended up happening was not only did he go from having to live in an RV and live, he also had to go get a job, had to have gone and gotten a job just for them to survive. And about a month later, he got the letter in the mail, and he got 100%. He was exposed to a lot of metals, toxins in Vietnam, and he got all of that approved. And the day that we got to help move them into a 55 and over community, and all I could think of that night was, they're gonna flush a regular toilet tonight. They're gonna sleep in a normal bed tonight. And when they get up tomorrow morning, they get to be in a kitchen and
shower.
And it's like, he got his dignity back. He got his purpose back, and he got to provide for his wife. And so along with him getting physically stronger, that was wonderful, but watching him get like his life back was magic.
It was magic.
And we get to see that all the time. You will see people walk in the door of APC, and there's just this vacancy in their eyes, male and female. And about 2 weeks after talking to people and coming in and working out a little bit, you just see that start to lift, and you see a little bit of life come back into their eyes, and then they smile, and then they start interacting with people. And it happens all the time, and it's the most amazing thing to watch.
Yeah, for sure. And I've gone to APC and worked out, and I think it's a great experience, especially being able to do some of the other courses and things that you offer. And I've never, in the military, when I was in an all infantry unit, all male unit, and so for me, it's been kind of interesting learning about, our female veterans and the experiences they've had, and it's something that I didn't get to see firsthand. And so I know when I've worked out in APC that I've seen definitely some women veterans in there. So do you have an idea of how many of your veterans that are in the gym are women, men? I know it's got to be a good amount.
We have a pretty significant female population. We really used to hang at about that 12 to 15%, but we're bumping in that 15 to 18% right before we came down here today. We had a woman come in and join, and we met her about 3 weeks ago when we were trying to help another female veteran that needed some housing supplies. And she had brought something for her, and she had really not much of an idea of who we were. We sat and talked to her and told her about what we have to offer. She came in and joined this morning, and she says, I've been really excited to come back. That was awesome.
Yeah, I think a place for any veteran to go is very important. And so
Yes.
I appreciate you all providing that space. I mean, I really do. You've talked a little bit about how you have worked, well, I know with VNN, how you work with different community providers, how that liaison and those peer mentors kind of get out in the community. Can you talk a little bit more about the partnerships or the relationships with those other service providers and how you use them to get veterans connected?
I believe in this community. One, the community that we live in is very veteran-centric. They do remarkable things for veterans in this community. It's a very patriotic community that we live in.
Helping out all the time.
All the time. And so having other veteran service organizations that provide such phenomenal things, it's that ability. We get to see these guys when they come in. If they come in twice a week, 3 times a week, 6 times a week, we see them all the time. And so we get to know a little bit about their day-to-day life, or the struggles that they're having, or things they could benefit from. If we have somebody come in and we watch them interact with somebody else that might have a service dog, or they interact with one of the dogs that are there, it's like, we just sit for a little bit. I wonder how they would do. Maybe they would do really well having a dog of their own, and then we can connect them to dog tag buddies. I think one of my favorite services that Veterans Navigation Network provides is you guys as peer support specialists and the impact that we've seen them have on our members. I love that.
Outrageous.
And we have one we're trying to make happen right now, and I know that that's going to be a phenomenal relationship when he gets connected to that. And then it goes to Veterans Inc., who helps with the housing, and it goes to
Dog tag buddies, you just said.
so many different community organizations. And I love the fact that we all understand that we have a piece of the puzzle, but not one of us is the whole puzzle. And we never will be. Right. That's not how you provide care for somebody. There's never, ever going to be a one-stop shop. And so that ability for all of us to work so collaboratively, where we understand that the person that we are serving, whatever that need is, let's rally around them. And that's what I see this community doing, is rallying around and saying, this person has this piece, this person has this piece, let's put them together and finish the puzzle.
Yeah, it's an awesome way to look at it. And that's, when I started Veterans Navigation Network, that's what I saw. I go to VA healthcare. They didn't tell me about any of the other services in the organization, and that's not a dig at the VA, but you're right. They can't be everything to everyone. And I mean, we only have about 50% of veterans utilizing VA healthcare.
If that's on a good day.
Yeah, actually signed up or enrolled,
Right.
but how many are actually going? So that's why I want to do this network idea of these different organizations getting together, and the veterans in front of them. How do we help the veteran? Not just doing their own thing in their own lane. They might specialize in that one thing, but what else can they connect them to so that they get the full, the full suite of what's out there?
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, in Montana we're lucky. I mean, we've got like 80 nonprofits across the state that focus just on veterans. But there's a lot of other organizations that do things for veterans that might be helping another population that veterans fall into. So, like Big Sky Senior Services help our elderly community, but a veteran may fall into that. The network piece is really getting them all connected and talking to each other and learning about what each other do. APC comes to our Eastern Montana Veteran Service Provider Network meetings, and you get to hear about the different. We just heard a great one yesterday in Wyoming that's doing some mobility, getting vets out in the outdoors. And without Andrea being the liaison attending that meeting, you guys might not know about that.
Right.
So connecting to each other as a veteran serving organization is just so important.
And Montana's a big state. It's wide open, and there's vets that are 20 miles apart.
Yeah.
and you got to get to them. And
Yeah. Or 200
200.
200 miles, exactly.
And so, well, I think that's a really good point that you bring up. That you don't just have an office here in Billings. You have an office in Helena.
Yes.
So tell us about how veterans can find those two locations, where they're at, and what's the best way to get connected to Adaptive Performance Center.
So we always like to tell people to just come in and take a tour, but they can go to adaptiveperformancecenter.org and look at our website and get information there. All of our contact information and addresses are there. What I get a kick out of between Helena and Billings, if you had dropped a pin in the middle of both cities, is exactly where APC is in both of them. We are smack dab in the middle in Helena and pretty smack dab in the middle in Billings. Yeah. And the one thing that we always want people to know is if you're a member, if you joined at one APC, you're a member at every APC. And so as people travel and go different places, you just get to go use the gym when you're in the other locations.
Yeah, and for people who do want to become members, is there a cost? Is there a fee associated with that?
The fee is $19.95. And at first when we opened, we weren't going to charge them anything. But a few of them started grumbling and talking, and it's like, well, I'm not going to come here if I'm not going to pay anything.
They just didn't feel comfortable.
They just didn't feel comfortable, not paying. Mm-hmm. So we literally, out of the air, pulled $19.95, said, there's your fee. Yeah. And nothing is held back. Yeah. They want massages, acupuncture, classes, yoga, boxing,
personal training, the occupational therapist. Nothing is ever more than that.
Yeah.
And if $19.95 is something they can't afford, it's not an issue. It's just done. Just come and be a member. Just come and get there.
And that's, going back, that's where this city is awesome. I mean, there'll be guys that'll walk in off the street, hand us their credit card and say, bill a vet a month for a membership. I'll take care of it. And they've got it covered. We have a radio station in town. Send us your names of people that can't pay. We'll cover it. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, we do, and I think the number of veterans in our state, 10% of the state, and then you add in the family members, it's like 30%. Mm-hmm. 30% of our communities are directly tied, in the household of a veteran. So something like that, where it's a place they can go, it's not a handout, it's not even, it's just a place that veterans can go.
Yes.
So yeah, very powerful what you all are doing. And for our viewers, if this is something, Adaptive Performance Center is a place that you want to get connected to, you can reach out to them directly. You can always reach out to Veterans Navigation Network and not only get connected to Adaptive Performance Center, but everything in your area. Yes. You don't have to be just located in Billings, you can be located anywhere, and we will find that veteran community for you. Mm-hmm. With that, if you're interested in connecting with Veterans Navigation Network, you can go to www.veteransnavigation.org. You can also just give us a call at 406-435-9308. I really want to say how much I appreciate you guys for being here today, sharing about APC. I've used it myself, and it's a great resource in our community, and I would encourage just anybody to get connected. So.
Thank you,
We want
Blake,
to thank you for having us.
For having us very much.
Appreciate it.